Good afternoon to you. Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com, here with your Hurricane Outlook and discussion for Thursday, the 26th of May, 2016, and we have a lot to talk about. First, an update on the sea surface temperature anomalies graphic here from the NOAA-NESDIS site. There you go, updated today. You see the La Nina trying to take shape here, more so than ever. A few cracks in the armor, so to speak, showing up in the waters between, we'll call it the Baja and Hawaii. Pretty warm, though, in the southeast Pacific. But boy, the main development region in here between the Cape Verde Islands and the Lesser Antilles, warming up very substantially compared to where people thought it would be. I saw a lot of talk in March and April about how the tropical Atlantic should cool anomalously, and it hasn't. It's still very warm, opposite of warm. Very cool up here in the northern Atlantic, and some cooling here in the subtropics, which is interesting because if you have a warm main development region but not too warm up here, it seems to me that this would kind of win out. You wouldn't have the Atlantic competing against itself. Moving on, the Caribbean Sea, warmer than normal. The Gulf, for the most part, warmer than normal. Basically, you see what I'm getting at. The Atlantic overall seems to be, especially in the tropics, where hurricanes form, it's warmer than normal. So we'll keep watching this. The NOAA official outlook comes out tomorrow. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, they'll have a press release in the morning, and I will probably talk about that tomorrow as well. So if you think today's broadcast is lengthy, wait till you see tomorrow. Moving right along, off the southeast coast, Invest Area 91L. And remember, the Hurricane Center gives these areas of interest eventually a number, 90 through 99. We're up to 91 right now because 90 was used back in January for what became Hurricane Alex. So this is 91L. The L is for Atlantic. And we see a 60% chance of development in the next 48 hours, 70% chance in the next 5 days. So it's interesting. It's gone up in the short term, but not gone up too much more in the long term. So there's still some iffiness as to whether or not this is going to develop. Nevertheless, Recon is scheduled to go out there and investigate tomorrow if necessary. It is looking a little better organized today, still spread out. You can see a little bit of turning in the cloud cover here. Not too hard to see that. We don't have to use our imaginations too much. But there's still pretty strong upper level winds cutting over the top of this system. And so you do have your surface feature, but the upper level wind's not quite as favorable. They're going to change, though, it looks like. Other systems that have formed early in the season and even preseason in some cases, it's not unprecedented. So you see Andrea back in 07. And this is much more of a subtropical storm. This is a great example how everything is loosely defined and spread out. Then we had a TD in 2009, Arthur in 2008, early season development Alberto in 2012, Beryl in 2012 that came into the Jacksonville area. That almost made it to hurricane strength. And then Anna, this time last year almost. I think it was a little earlier in May, if memory serves. So, yeah, it's not like it hasn't happened. And the southeast Atlantic waters off the southeast coast would be sort of the southwest Atlantic if you want to geographically pin it down. Seems to be the hotbed for this activity because shear is generally lower in this region. And I can show you, this is the area that I'm talking about. It's not unheard of to get development here because shear generally, climatologically, we've seen it lower in this area. It's just one of those things. It's one of the areas that these storms are able to take advantage of. So what are we looking at here? Well, this is a vorticity map at the 5,000 foot level in the atmosphere. And in nature, when I'm looking at storms, I like to see, if I'm trying to figure out, kind of like playing detective, what's going to develop and what's not. Usually in the tropics, especially when something is round, that tends to indicate a focusing of energy, a bundling of that energy, a more efficient conservation of angular momentum and all those physical related things. Roundness in nature with storms generally equals intensity, especially in the tropics. And so you see we do have a little bit of a round shape or vorticity here. Energy in the atmosphere, spin, taking shape here to the northeast of the Bahamas. There's Bermuda So basically, it doesn't look like this. This is a different kind of vorticity that's going to lead to more severe weather over the Great Plains, for example. It's not spread out like this. I think you get the idea. When it's round like this, and we can see that on the satellite animation, you have energy that's trying to focus in one area instead of being spread out all over the place with different lobes of energy, for example. There is this one over Florida, and that's why this isn't taking off rapidly. But the bottom line is that we are seeing the signs that this is trying to develop. As I mentioned, upper level winds still coming around this trough over the top of the system, fairly strong, but to the northwest of there, the upper level winds relax pretty substantially. We can see that better on the shear tendency map. This is the Mid-Atlantic. This is the Carolina coast right here. There's Florida. And then here's the area where it should start to try to develop on the other side of this orange color. This is a great set of products, by the way, from the University of Wisconsin and from their Cooperative Institute for Meteorological Satellite Studies. I've said that a lot of times, so I'm pretty good at it. It's a great site as a whole. Just Google that and it'll come up for you. Lots of different tools for analyzing what's going on, and one of them shows the shear tendency. And you can see in this case, there's our little sort of golden triangle, if you will, for this system to try to take advantage of lighter upper level winds. And as such, some of the models, this was tweeted out today from Eric Blake from the National Hurricane Center, and we can see that the ship's guidance, I believe this would be, talking about the shear over the next few days and the tendency for it. This is 0 hours, 6 hours, on the way out to 60 hours. And you can see right now, 38 knots of shear decreasing all the way down to a mere 4 knots of shear. And if that indeed happens, then this system will have a chance to develop. Further bolstering that argument, I guess you could say, warm water of the Gulf Stream. You have shelf water. We're going to take a better look at that in a minute, closer to the coast. But the Gulf Stream right in here, running 26, 27 degrees Celsius, 80, 81 degrees, and that's warm enough. This is a better high-resolution shot, and you can clearly see the outline of the Gulf Stream here. So let's just say that our system comes along towards the South Carolina coast over the weekend. Once it reaches this area here, you have higher ocean heat content. The water is moving underneath it. The would-be storm, so more warm water is being replaced every second, and it has a chance to intensify some. A fairly wide Gulf Stream through here. It's not as narrow as up here off of Cape Hatteras, for example. But then the shelf water right up against the coast, and then not even 100 miles offshore, it looks like, is a lot cooler. We can go back an easier depiction of that here. Those water temperatures 24 to 25 degrees Celsius, barely warm enough to let this even hold on. So even if it were to try to strengthen and become a tropical storm with 40 or 50 mile per hour winds, that should be the limit to this. You never say never, but that should be the upper limit because it's not September, it is only late May. A couple things to talk about for impact. If you have plans to go to the Carolina beaches, South Carolina, you're thinking about Isle of Palms, Sullivan's Island, Myrtle Beach, Georgetown, in terms of visiting a wonderful coastal city, historic city, up through Wilmington, Wrightsville Beach, the Outer Banks, you name it. Don't cancel your plans and don't freak out about this. It could be a nuisance and might make it to where you can't do anything outside necessarily one of those days or maybe 2 days, but we're not talking about something coming along that is going to wreck your life unless you do something dumb. If it's raining real hard, don't drive 70 miles an hour or whatever. You get the idea. Use common sense. Be mindful, and I'm very serious about this next one, of surf conditions if you're headed to the beach and you're going to let the kids play in the water, or even if you're going to play in the water, be mindful that there could be an increased rip current threat with this system. It's out there, something to watch, but no, it is not a menace. It's more of a nuisance, and we'll keep an eye on it, and I'll be talking about it again tomorrow, along with the NOAA Hurricane Outlook as well. All right? Any questions, post them on our Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube social media outlets. Everything's at Hurricane Track, pretty easy to find. We also have an app. A few people have asked about that. Do you have an app I can follow along when I'm not near a computer? Absolutely. It's easy to find on the App Store and on Google Play. 2 words, Hurricane Impact, because that's what it mainly focuses on, especially when they make landfall. It's got our blog, social media links right in there. Everything's aggregated into one nice package, Hurricane Impact, including these video updates, which goes into the app first. If even by just a few minutes, you do get exclusive access to it first in the app. As soon as I publish it, it's in the app. Now you don't have to wait for a notification from YouTube or something. So anyway, everything's right there if you want to follow along in our app. All right. Well, thanks for following along today on the Hurricane Outlook and discussion. Again, I am Mark Sudduth for HurricaneTrack.com, and I will talk to you again tomorrow.